Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Wealth Conversation podcast with me, Tsitsi Mutiti. I guide high-achieving women on their journey to build lasting wealth so they can prepare for an abundant future in every area of their life. I hope that today's episode will help you to transform your relationship with money so you can make the choices that will enable you to create the opportunities and lasting wealth that you desire. Let's get straight into this week's episode. Hey there, it's good to have you back with us. So I know you've been listening to this podcast every single week and that you've been taking in the wealth of knowledge from all the guests that have been on the podcast so far. But a lot of you have told me that you haven't taken any action, mainly because you're not sure where to start. And I get it, because I've been there before. The good news is that I can definitely help you get clear on the 3 steps that you can take straight away to create the solid foundation that you desire. So head to the show notes and click the link to book a Power Hour session with me. There's definitely never been a better time to become the designer of your financial future. Do you have an idea that you believe could be a successful online business? But you're working full-time and feel that you can't make room for it in your life right now? Well, this episode is definitely for you. My guest, Charlotte Barrett, is the co-founder of the Business Growth Agency, which she runs with her business partner, Grace Nelson. Grace and Charlotte know what it's like to have an idea you're passionate about, but you don't know how to make it a profitable reality, so you can have a reliable income other than the one from your full-time job. Welcome, Charlotte, to the Wealth Conversation podcast.
Massive thank you for having me, Titsy, on behalf of myself and Grace as well. Really excited to be here.
Oh, I can't wait to get into this discussion. But before we get started, please share a bit more about yourself and your business.
Yes, so I am a business coach and mentor. I co-found the brand that is Grace and Charlotte alongside with my business partner and bestie, who I'm representing both today. And we predominantly help women online in the online space who in corporate create a secondary income, which can then go on if they choose to be a first income. But for us, it's so important opening up the conversation and showing people how you can build a business online while still in a 9-to-5. It's absolutely possible without the overwhelm. We also do a bit of corporate work as well, and we often teach at one of the local universities, sharing our love of entrepreneurship, and we do have bits and pieces, but predominantly coaching and consulting is our main bread and butter.
I absolutely love that. And it's so weird that I'm actually interviewing you today, Charlotte, because I found out about you and Grace through another podcast several years ago. And I was like, oh, I need to get a hold of these ladies because I've got this idea in my head, but I'm working full time, not sure how to make it come to life. And all I can say is my business is up and running.
Yeah.
And it's thanks to you guys who were there right at the beginning with me.
Exactly. And it's that makes our heart smile, and it just fills me up with so much joy just to see how you went through our process of Think.Create.Initiate. Congratulations to you for doing the work.
Thank you so much. So you support women to set up online businesses, kind of like me, these businesses that can create an additional income stream whilst they're in a full-time job. Did you and Grace set up your business whilst working full-time?
Yeah, so it's a funny story, Grace, and I love to tell this. We was both at a point in our lives where many of your listeners may be able to resonate. We was both in a job, feeling unfulfilled. I think one of the final straws for me was in my job was a consultant was hired in to do exactly the same thing that I could do, being paid 10 times what I was being paid at the point. And I was literally hand holding that consultant. And we was both just in points, and Grace had her own story in terms of she felt like she wasn't being supported in the role she was in, and she wasn't able to thrive. And we was both literally having that thing where you meet with your girlfriend every Friday night, a bottle of wine, and we was literally just moaning and moaning. We got to the point we can't continue to just have this wine o'clock every Friday, unhappy, unfulfilled. And then what happened is that something popped up on my social media at the time, and it was about a personal development event, and we decided to go And that event spoke to us. It's the first thing we ever went to of that kind, first happy clappy sort of thing. We absolutely love it now. And after that, we decided, okay, let's actually, instead of moaning about not being happy in our jobs, feeling unfulfilled, let's actually come together, put our resources together. We was both dynamic in different areas, and start a business. And we was both in our full-time careers at the time. I only had one daughter at the time. We was like, let's do this. Let's start a job. Let's make it happen. Started our business. And then it was an events management company, which grew really, really rapidly whilst we was both in our demanding roles as well. Later on, that business model evolved due to lifestyle goals that we wanted as we evolved. But we absolutely did it, and we was walking proof. And it was a business that demanded a lot of our time, but it grew a lot through organic. The internet wasn't so rife at the time. And yeah, that's how we started. And I think my important key takeaway here is, if you have an idea, if you're finding yourself moaning and moaning, meeting your girlfriends or, your partner, and you're just not happy, do something about it.
I love that. Don't fall into the trap of wine o'clock every Friday and get into that comfort zone. Do something about it. So why do you and Grace believe that it's important for some women to have an additional stream of income on top of their 9 to 5?
Yeah, so speaking from my perspective, I always think it's important. Well, I mean, freedom for me is a massive, massive game changer. It's part of what keeps me driving in all aspects and goals and areas of my life. And I believe that as a human being, that's our basic right, to have freedom. And for me, once you're just relying on one income, your freedom's already taken away. So it's so important for me as a woman. I'm a single mum as well, that I was always able not to be reliant on one income. I could show my daughter, I now have 2 daughters, I could show, family, nieces, nephews, that you don't have to be reliant on one income. And also you could create your own income. I think that was a massive game changer for me, that you could create something from an idea and make it tangible into this world and actually have an income. And I think every woman that desires so, it's just so important to have a backup plan. We've seen in the last 2 years how things can change beyond our wildest imagination. And it's so, so important that we're always prepared for what could happen. It's not to live in that state, but it's to be important. And also for me, it's really important that we can live on purpose. Many of us are in our 9 to 5s building a business, and it's to pay the bills, let's face it. But being able to live on purpose just gives you a happier, healthier, more fulfilled life. And being able to do that and get paid for it, I think there's nothing better. So it's so important for me. It's one of our missions, Grace and I, is to help over the next couple of years at least 1 million women be able to create an income online. Additionally, it's if they want to choose it alongside or without. But yeah.
Love that. And I couldn't agree more. Being able to create an income doing the thing that you love or fulfilling your purpose, I think, is the ultimate goal for all of us. So Think, Create, Initiate. That's the name of your accelerator program. And it promises to help entrepreneurs create £1,000 months or $1,000 months, and then increase their income using the same method over and over again. Why did you decide to focus on starting off with £1,000 as a result, instead of the 5 or 6 figures that a lot of business coaches and strategists are promising their clients?
Yeah, so I love that you've asked this question. There's so many facets to it, so I'm going to try and unpack it. First and foremost, I remember myself, as you said, like years ago, when I had originally, I remember about maybe 6, it must be 8 years ago, with time just flies so quickly. And I was in a network marketing company, and I was like, all I wanted to make at that point, I remember, was an additional £500. For me, that would have just meant the world of difference. It would have meant additional holidays and not saying no to my daughter and things like that. And I always, for me, it was a big game changer. And when Grace and I started in this online space, yes, we saw everyone. It was, the sexy 6 figures and 6 weeks and this and that. And it's sexy, it's glamorous, and it can turn your head. But really, for us, we understand first and foremost what an extra £1,000 difference can make to someone. Being able to, I know you're all about creating wealth, being able to, whether it's invest that, put that down for your pension pot, being able to not have to touch that additional money if you are using whatever else to pay for your incomes, your basic expenditures, can make the world of difference. So being able to make that £1,000 was one, we thought it's something achievable. It can make the world of difference. And also what we have come to know through the years of working with different clients, once you can make £1,000, you can make £10,000, you can make £20,000 because you've learned to master the basic art of creating money yourself, bringing in income. It just takes a different few tweaks to be able to match that and exceed that. And if you've just come into the online space, so we've worked with many newbies, and you're hearing 6 figures, 6 weeks, it can seem so out of reach. And I know this was something for myself in the beginning, and it didn't seem possible that I could maybe make £1,000, 10,000, 15, 20,000 months. That seems so out of reach. So even though the sex appeal, as you may say, may allured me to wanting to look at these, it didn't feel in reach. And it's why you'll see many people joining all these different programs, doing all these different things, and not being able to stay in it because it doesn't feel safe. For once, they maybe had no one around them being able to achieve that amount of money, so it doesn't feel safe. It feels like maybe if they was to achieve that amount of money, maybe they would be excluded from their immediate circles, and it doesn't feel safe in the body. So hence what we end up doing as human beings, we'll do everything outside of us trying to self-sabotage that because it seems unrealistic, or we completely block ourselves and stop and not do anything, over procrastinate, over perfectionism, all those things come into place. So we've come to realize that once you can start to feel safe making £1,000, then you gradually take that milestone, you do 5,000, 10,000. It's much more sustainable. And we've seen so much people in the online space maybe have a big cash injection month, and because it didn't feel safe, it wasn't sustainable. And Grace and I have always been about, much again with the ethos that you teach, it's about building wealth, building legacy, building a sustainable business, something that can grow and be nurtured over the time. So that's why we've always taken the stance, let us help you make £1,000, and we can work on that. We've got the basic ingredients, and it's like building a house on solid foundation, as opposed to going for all of that glamour stuff, which a blow of wind, which happens in entrepreneurship, could happen, and house is blown down and you're starting all over again from scratch.
I love that analogy. And it's so true. To build a house or anything, or the tallest skyscraper, you have to start with one brick and put another brick. And those are the kind of £1,000 months that you're talking about. And yeah, a lot of clients I have worked with in the past have always had this ceiling when it comes to the amount that they can earn. And once the brain starts even contemplating anything above that, they go into this flight mode where they're doing everything in their power not to get there. And it's not even a conscious thing. It's just they can't do the exercise that they've been asked to do. For me, it was social media. Like, I can't put myself out on social media. Yeah. That's that self-sabotaging coming in all the time. Yeah. Now, in addition to people just getting used to making those small amounts every month and then getting used to kind of building on that, what would you say are the first steps to take when trying to turn an idea into a business?
Yeah. So for us, we had our trademark method, which is called Think.Create.Initiate. It's what our business is built on. Different product services go into different layers. But initially, it's a concept that so many amazing women we've seen, it breaks our heart, have this amazing idea. And you will see them a year later. I've still got this idea. I've not put nothing into fruition. So we've had to start to delve in and look at, okay, what is the difference between someone that has an idea and someone that moves from concept to having actually a real tangible business? And it's working through this method. And for us, once you've got this idea, it's absolutely instrumental you create a network around you, whether it be a mentor, coach, accountability, or someone that's going to help you move that forward. Because it's so easy for us to put our ideas on the back burner and say we'll wait till the right time. But then it's getting very, very clear on the idea and understanding, okay, I'm going to put this out to market and testing it, just checking that first of all there's that validity in the idea that the marketplace is ready for it, people will purchase it. And you can do that by doing, a few things, looking at Amazon, seeing if there's a bestseller book in that niche, checking, marketplaces that are selling courses, etc., whatever it may be, to check there's that idea. And then going out there and getting that support and testing it, getting your first taste. It's always so important to, if you want to move from that think, create, initiate process, that you actually go out there and you try and prove your concept as quick as possible, that you can get that first client or someone to at least buy into it. So then that builds your self-esteem and your confidence to go out there and put that full momentum and move past maybe those barriers of being seen on social media, or move past those barriers of having to say, actually, I've got something to sell, or move past those barriers of like, actually, here's my PayPal link. But if you can just prove and you can get a little bit of winning from someone that's not in your immediate circle, like your parents or friends or family, then that's going to build your your self-esteem. So it's like we always like to our clients, get this idea, just go and test it, put it out there, even if it's not perfect, and then we can move and we can learn and we can tweak and we can see what's working, what isn't, what do you want to do differently. But it's about getting clear, getting your customer, and just making sure you've got something that can actually solve a problem.
Charlotte, what would you say are the benefits of starting a business whilst working in a 9 to 5?
Yeah, so it can be so funny. There's a different school of thought. Somebody who can be like, okay, you can't be all in if you are in a 9 to 5 and you're building a business. And I say, absolutely, that's rubbish. You can be, if you are organized, you have got your intention, you're doing everything from an intentional perspective and you're looking at the big picture, and absolutely make it work. And some of the benefits I always enlist is, first and foremost, when you're building a business, particularly in the online space, it's going to take time to create that momentum, to get that business off the ground, to get that traction going. So if you can come at a place from being still in love with your business, not coming at a place from lack and scarcity because maybe you don't have the clients and customers, which means you're not going to make your mortgage or rent the next month, which puts a whole different spin and a whole different perspective from an energy point of view, if just that. But once you're in a 9 to 5 and you know your business, your basic expenses are being met, you can start to get creative with your business. You can even start to enlist help, which is one of the things we always say is start at the start of building an empire. You can start to bring in maybe an assistant or someone that's going to support you with admin tasks or things that take more time that you don't necessarily have, and you can be at a better perspective from that. And also, I always believe we've got transferable skills from anything. We often say, can you look at your 9 to 5 at the moment, maybe even you don't like it, but you're using it as an end goal. It's your angel investing in that speak to grow your business, to get it off the ground, to get into a solid place where you feel confident, and maybe you go part-time or maybe you reduce your hours. And I just think it puts you at a stand where you are not going to be coming at your business from a place of scarcity. You're going to maybe have to, even sometimes depending on where you work, you could bring in customers or clients from that as well. Or there's opportunities where you can maybe partner if you've been open and you declared your business as well. I've seen that happen. So I think there's so many benefits. And I think in this day and age now, so many employers are actually welcoming of employees who have building a business, because it's that entrepreneur spirit that you can really be transferable back in both ways as well in your job as well. So I'm a massive advocate for it. It's where many of our clients are, and I believe it puts you in such a good stead for building your business long term as well.
Yeah, what it did for me was just help me see that there is more out there. So it actually made my 9 to 5 more exciting for me. Because then I was trying to see how can I bring in some of the stuff that I'm doing out there into my 9 to 5. So you've shared some of the advantages. Are there any disadvantages to starting a business whilst working full time?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always disadvantages and positives with everything. I think one of the things that can be, and while you'll see some people really take off with it and move forward, and some people maybe it just becomes another thing on the New Year's resolution list, is that they have tried to build a business alongside their 9 to 5, doing everything exactly in the same way that they did. What happens, you'll get to burnout so much quicker. If you are contemplating building your business alongside a 9 to 5 and you think you can still do the duties, whether it's maybe looking after family members, whether it's being a volunteer or wherever it may be, whether it's being in the group admin chat, whether it's organising, all of that stuff that we have committed to over time, and you want to build a business, you can't physically do it. Us as human beings, we're not superhuman, and what happens is you get to burn out so much quicker. Those late nights and early mornings at some point catch up with each other, and at some point you're going to resent something in your life. It may be that you fall out of love with your business much quicker, but it may be that you literally get to burn out, you have no energy, and your body just says no more and you get sick. So there is absolutely, your time is going to be, your energy and your time is going to be zapped if you're doing both. But how you combat that is understanding that you can't be that same person that you was when you before you took on your business. Some things have to drop. You have to understand your priority list. Like I always say, use things as your filter. So is this going to serve your business in the next 6 to 12 months when you're saying yes to this, or you're still adhering to that obligatory thing that you've agreed to 2 years ago when the business business wasn't your goal. So what can you drop? What can you loosen in that backpack so that actually this can become a really realistic thing that you're working towards, really realistic to getting your 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 extra a month, whatever it may be, without the burnout. And that can absolutely happen, but it's just being intentional and filtering and setting boundaries now, and understanding that maybe for the next couple of years, this business is where I'm moving towards as well. So yeah, the negatives are it can take a toll on you, maybe relationships, family. But I always say, you are the leader of that first. You go first. So you set your boundaries, you have to set your priorities, and everything falls into place and follows.
As you started talking there, the word boundaries came into my head, and it is really about boundaries. And I remember when I was starting my coaching business, the biggest difficulty I had was setting aside time to put all the structures in place, or at least the structures I thought I needed to put in place. And then on top of that, trying to find clients. What would you say to someone who is going through the same thing right now and who is working full time? In addition to boundaries, what are some of the other practical things they can do to manage their time?
Yeah, so absolutely. We've got the time perspective and understanding, okay, I'm going to commit at least maybe an hour, 2 hours a day on my business. I'm going to schedule that in, and that's non-negotiable as well. And then it's also, I always say, understand what season you are in your business. So you will come in the online space and you'll see someone doing this who's maybe a few years ahead of you. And it'll be tempting to go ahead and try and say, I want all this, I want that fancy funnel, I want this massive value ladder, I want this and blah, 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 this podcast, etc. etc. But understand that isn't your season. Your season is you're in the start phase, you're growing, and it's about bringing as much cash into the business in the beginning so that you can bring in support so that you don't have that feeling of overwhelm as well. So what does that entail? It means, how can I get my first couple of clients? It doesn't mean that maybe I've got to have fancy photo shoots, I've got to have the best graphics. It means that I've got to get my idea, my product, my service out to the marketplace, get it tested, tweak, serve my clients and customers, get that feedback so I can make it better and better and better. And this is going to happen by you having your non-negotiables. You may remember we used to talk about this all the time. So what are you going to focus on your daily basis? How are you going to bring in clients? So for us, especially those that are building an online business, is going to be your content creation. How are you going to theme your days? How are you going to know the stuff that I'm going to do that's going to get me more clients? Am I going to go on more podcasts? Am I going to put myself out there to maybe do guest blogging? Am I going to create a video series? Whatever it may be, these are the things you think, is this going to lead to opportunities? Maybe it's creating partnerships and opportunities. That's what I would say focus on in the beginning, bringing clients, bringing cash through the door so that you can understand what's working in your business and tweak it and then make it better and better. And then you start to master what you're doing as well. But understand you can't have everything at once. You can't have the massive business fancy funnels doing all of this. Otherwise, that is how you'll lead to overwhelm and you will crash and burn. And it's not a great place to be. And I say that as well from experience. So sustain a lane, understand your season, and bring in as much cash and clients and customers as you can in the early start without the perfectionism.
Yeah, I love that. Stay in your lane. It's so true. And it is the best advice you can give anyone. I went through that phase of looking at everybody who was in the space that I wanted to be in. And I was like, oh my goodness, she's got so many followers. Oh, she's doing this. And I was really jumping ahead instead of taking that one step at a time and making sure that my next step was the best step I could take, instead of getting distracted by what other people were doing out there. Charlotte, I know you and Grace have supported a lot of women. And when I was going through your program, there were a lot of wonderful women in that cohort. Do you have any success stories you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I love the women. So aside from you and what you're doing as well, massive testament to the work. Even just last week, one of our clients who's just gone through the accelerator, she did her first online event. And this lady is an introvert. So those of you that may relate, understand how hard that online space can be if you're building an online business. She did her first open event and had over 50 people on her first 2 days, which is massive. Let's all for her to go and spearhead her own event live, live and get so many women. And she catered for other introvert women, which she found a niche and how to empower them. So that's amazing to see and just see. So recently we've had clients that have gone in part-time doing what they're doing, get corporate contracts. And one of the amazing things we've had as well, that many of our clients have such a diverse range of businesses. Like we've worked from people like yourself, we've got doing in the wealth management coaching space, to yoga, to spiritual, to women empowerment, to holistic health, like accountancy, childcare. I think that's one of the things we actually absolutely love about what we're doing. And so many wins from monetary, extra thousands of pounds in our bank, getting clients, like, getting your first client is such a major deal, and then being able to repeat that, to creating programs and having assets. That's one of the things Grace and I always teach our clients. As you're building your business, think long term past you. What are the assets you can start to build? Can you build courses? Can you start to trademark programs and methods and things like that? So yeah, it's just been amazing, and seeing some of our clients just go on to create their own memberships and their own wins, and invite us back to what they're doing. It just actually, like I say, it's just a massive win to know we've been part of so many women starting and creating their seeds and their own legacy, and the domino effect as well. So that's wonderful.
That's amazing. And I love those success stories. And I know you continue supporting many, many women. Charlotte, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Now, as you know, I believe that to create true wealth, we must all be clear on what wealth means to us in each area of our life. So in a few words, could you share with us what wealth means to you in the following areas of your life: physical, mental, spiritual, social, and financial well-being?
Yeah, this is a beautiful question, and it's so personalized for everyone. But for me, I found recently my wealth is a feeling as well for me. So the feelings for me of wealth, it's always been, I look back on everything I've made and where I've been happiest, it's freedom for me, freedom and connection. So when I think about wealth, maybe in my physical point of view, it's been freedom that I can move, my body is healthy. So thank God every day I'm able to move, I'm flexible, I physically okay as well. I've got that freedom, I've got that connection with my body. I do so much inner work as well, where I can feel connected, I can feel into my body and understand directions and things that I need to do. We're looking at wealth for me from monetary. It's being able to have decisions. It's not being able to say no. It's being able to know that, okay, I've got things in motion for the future as well. Again, that freedom and that connection. I look at wealth in terms of even our businesses, and that's really how sort of structures a lot of my business. Do I have the freedom? Can I be able to, spend time with my daughter on a Friday afternoon? Can I have that freedom that I can go in and just speak to my community? Like we have our membership, or we have our masterminds, etc. Can I go in there? Can I have that connection? That's why we often build community aspects of what we're doing. Even with our automated courses, we have that flexibility and that connection. So for me, wealth is, where can I have freedom in my life, and where can I have that connection health-wise in all of those aspects you mentioned? And it's my filter as I keep moving forward and I keep elevating. I encourage any listeners to try and understand the emotions that you want and what wealth feels like. So then you can filter it that way, and you can be so connected to it that much more.
I love that freedom. Now, how can anyone listening to this episode get in touch with you and Grace if they want to find out more about your programs or be a part of any of your groups?
Yeah, so we would love to hear from you. We always love having conversations. The easiest way is probably to go onto our website, which is graceandcharlotte.com. On there, you can see the list of our social handles are there. We're on Instagram at the Female Startup Community as well. There's lots of information there. You can see ways to work with us, ways to join our community, and just find out a bit more about what we do. And we've got some free resources on there as well.
Charlotte, thank you so much. It has truly been an honor having you on the podcast, because you're part of the reason why this podcast exists now.
That just fills me with so much gratitude, and just love the work you're doing out there.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Connect with me at The Wealth Conversation on Facebook and Instagram so we can continue the discussion. Also, if you enjoy tuning into this podcast, make sure to leave a rating and review everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Until next week, stay focused on becoming the designer of your financial future.